For today's lecture, we are to talk about forms, filings, and compliances. So in forms, filings, and compliances, this talks about whenever there is a taxpayer and the taxpayer is to file a particular return. So in filing a particular return, the first step there is we need to register the taxpayer. We need to register the taxpayer if there is no TIN. If there is 18, when we say TIN, it is your tax identification number. So if there is 18, then you can just file. Furthermore, as we go through this particular discussion, we need to determine our taxpayer whether the taxpayer will file a one-time transaction, also known as ONET, one-time transaction, also known as ONET, or the taxpayer will file a recurring transaction, meaning it is not one time. It means that it is filed either monthly, quarterly, or yearly. So let's start our discussion. So everything starts with a tax identification number. So what is a tax identification number? So any person, whether natural or juridical, required under the authority of Internal Revenue Code to make, render, or file a return, statement, or other documents shall be supplied with or assigned a tax identification number to be indicated in the return, statement, or document to be filed with the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Therefore, in short, if there is a person, whether natural or a juridical person, whenever you need to file a tax return, there must be a tax identification number. In short, one person must have one TIN. One person must have one TIN. So let's say, for example, we have here Jollibee, and Jollibee has one headquarters and 200 branches. How many TIN should Jollibee get? Jollibee must only have one TIN because Jollibee is the lone person, the lone juridical person. So even if Jollibee has many branches, Jollibee must be supplied only one TIN. Same as true with any natural person. If there is only one natural person, that one natural person must be only given one TIN. So take note, one person must be given one TIN. Now, let's go to your application 14. For application 14, we have different forms. You have 1901 until 1904. So earlier in our introduction, we said we need to determine our taxpayer whenever it needs to file a return. So for the return, we need to determine again whether it is an ONET type of transaction or we have a recurring type of transaction. If that is recurring, you need to determine whether the recurring is because the taxpayer is a business or has a business or has a business, or the taxpayer is an employee. So whenever that is an ONET, your registration is BIR form 1904. So as you can see here, 1904, we have here your OCWs and your one-time taxpayers. If that is a business, whether it is a corporation or a partnership, or it is a self-employed or mixed income individuals, then you use the following returns, 1903 and 1901. And if that is an employee, you use your 1902. Okay. So take note, whenever you need to file a return, what did we say? You need a TIN, right? Tax identification number. So in getting the TIN, you must determine the type of taxpayer. If the taxpayer is ONET, one-time taxpayer, OCW, Seaman, purely foreign source income, then the form that you will use to register, 1904. But if the taxpayer has recurring transactions, such as it is a business, whether corporations or partnerships, 1903, self-employed or mixed income individual, 1901, and that is an employee, 1902. So again, we're clear here that whenever the taxpayer needs to file a return and it does not have 18, how does the taxpayer get 18? Through your BIR forms 1901 until 1904. BIR forms 1901 to 1904. Now, let's proceed to where, when, and the effect of getting a TIN. So, application for TIN, who? Every person subject to internal revenue tax shall register once with appropriate revenue district officers. So take note, you must only register once. So one TIN for one taxpayer. And we said you only register if you need to file a particular return. When will you register? Before commencement of business. Where will you register? RDO having jurisdiction over the head office, branch office, place of production or storage, please. So let's say, for example, we have here again your Jollibee. Have here again your Jollibee. So the headquarters is in Makati and it has 200 branches all over the country. So where will Jollibee register? In Makati City. In Makati City because that is the head office of Jollibee. And the effect is that it will be given BIR form to 303. But take note, this will only be given to business tax type or business type taxpayers. So in short, so initially we have here your taxpayer. We need to determine whether it is one-time taxpayer or it is a recurring taxpayer. In short, it is non-onet. It is non-onet. So if that is an onet, again, you will file your returns or you apply your registration using 1904. If that is non-onet or recurring, you need to determine whether that is a business or an employee. So if that is a business, you will register using BIR form 1901 or 1903. 1901 for your self-employed or mixed income earner. 1903 for your partnerships or corporations. And for employee, you will file using 1902. Now, we said there is a corresponding form that will be given to you if in case you're a business. You are given a BIR form 2303. What is this BIR form 2303? This is your certificate of registration. This is your certificate of registration. So 2303 will be given to you upon registration if you are a business. How about for employee? Will you be given 82303? No. How about for ONET? No. Only those business taxpayers. And who are the business taxpayers? Self-employed or partnership or corporation or mixed income individuals. Take note of this. So far, I hope you have already mapped on your mind that whenever we talk about a taxpayer, we need to determine first the type of taxpayer. And in determining the type of taxpayer, we need to determine the corresponding form so that you can register the taxpayer. So that is either 1901, 1902, 1903, and 1904. And only business taxpayers will be given a certificate of registration in the form of BIR Form 2303. So we're talking about BIR Form 2303 and what is BIR Form 2303. So BIR Form 2303, this is your BIR Form 2303. On the top one, this is your Revenue District Office. So this is the place where will you register, where you will register your business. And then here is your TIN number. And then we have here your taxpayer's name and also the date of issuance of TIN. This is your business address. Okay. And here is the different tax types. So we don't need to talk about these items because they are self-explanatory. So what's new here is your tax types. Take note, whenever we have your business, only business taxpayer has 2303. And the 2303 has your different tax types. And what are the normal tax types? So we have your income tax. We also have your business tax. And then we have your withholding tax. So what are these tax types? These are the different taxes the taxpayer is required to file and pay. So, sir, even if let's say the taxpayer does not have any withholding, the taxpayer should still file it. Yes, the taxpayer is still required to file even if there's no income, even if there's no business tax, even if there's no withholding. Because per 2303, the taxpayer is required to file. Take note of that. Now, assuming the taxpayer did not file, what is the effect? So, since the taxpayer is required to file, if taxpayer failed to file, then the effect is that the taxpayer is subject to surcharge or different penalties. Surcharge or different penalties. So we already learned in the additions to taxes that a taxpayer can be subject to compromise penalties, interest, surcharges, etc. So that's your BIR form 2303. Now, what if on your initial registration, so your initial registration is 1901 to 1904, you want now to update your registration. You update it using 1905. How about if you want to terminate your business? You terminate it using BIR form 1905. So all taxpayers who wants to cancel or close or cease or terminate their business, you use BIR form 1905. That is the application for information update. And take note also, guys, that we said you need to keep on filing as a general rule. Okay, as a general rule, you need to keep on filing the tax types until the business is not closed or terminated. So let's say, for example, 2021, you operated. 2022, you stop operation. 2023, you stop operation. Okay. So assuming in 2022, you stop operation, will you still be liable for taxes? Yes. Why? Because we said your taxes will keep, you need to keep on filing those taxes unless you close your business. So assuming on 2022, you already close your business. On 2022, you already close your business. Do you still need to file those taxes under your 2303? Not anymore. So again, if you already canceled your registration using BIR form 2303, then it means that you don't have any requirement to file the taxes. But if you did not yet cancel, then you need to keep on filing the tax type. So the exception here is the business is already terminated as evidenced by BRR form 1905. Okay? So you keep on filing unless and until the business is already terminated using BRR form 1905. I hope you are clear regarding the effect of registering a business. Okay, so we have here a taxpayer. A taxpayer is a business. What again are the forms? We have here form 1901. We have here 1901 and 1903. And in 1901 and 1903, there is a certificate of registration 2303, which gives you your different tax types. Now, in your tax types, if you don't cancel your 2303 or you don't terminate your business, you should keep on filing those tax types. But once you already terminate your business, using BIR Form 1905, then your requirement to file those returns is already extinguished. I hope we are clear as to the effect of that BIR Form 2303 and when will that BIR Form 2303 or when will the requirement to keep on filing end. Now, let's go to your tax forms and deadlines. So I have here your annual registration fee using BIR Form 0605. So all registered taxpayers which except those earning purely compensation income earner are required to pay annual registration fee using BIR Form 0605 date January 31. That is amounting to 500 pesos per separate or distinct establishment. So let's say, for example, again, Jollibee with one headquarters and 200 branches. How many, how much should be the total registration fee? So 201 multiplied by 500. Why? Because each separate or distinct establishment must pay 500. So how many establishments? Total establishments is 201. So you base it on your total establishments. Who will pay? All registered except those purely compensation. So who are our taxpayers again? We have here ONET, and then we have your non-ONET. And who are your non-ONET? We have here your business, and we have here your employees. So for ONET, you do not need to pay annual registration fee. For business, you need to pay annual registration fee of 500 pesos. For employee, you do not need to pay for annual registration fee. So only business is needs to pay annual registration fee. And again, only business has Form 2303 and only business has the different tax types. So let's go now to your different tax types. Let's start first with your income tax returns. For income tax returns or for the different forms and deadlines, we have already covered this one in our previous topics, especially when we talk about your additions to tax. So for individual, we have your BIR Form 1701 and 1701Q. 1701 is for annual and 1701Q is for quarterly. So the due dates, you've already know that, or you have already at least memorized those. For corporation, we have here 1702 for annual and 1702Q for quarterly. Okay, that's for income tax returns. Now for capital gains tax. So for domestic stocks, we have 1707 and 1707A. For domestic stocks, it is due 30 days from the date of sale, while for annual, it is 15 days of the fourth month following the close of the taxable year. For real properties, it is 1706, 30 days from the date of sale. Next, we have your documentary stamp tax. It is VIR Form 2000 for recurring transactions and for one-time transactions or for on-it transactions, you use BIR Form 2000 OT. Sir, when will you use BIR Form 2000? If ever the entity or business entity is engaged in transactions in which normally there is a documentary stamp. So let's say, for example, lending businesses. Lending businesses has is always liable for DST because the documents or those contracts of loans must be subject to documentary stamp tax. Therefore, they are considered recurring. But if not, then it is 2000 OT. So 5 days from the close of the month, that is our DST. Next, transfer taxes. You know this one already. For VAT, 255M and 255Q. But take note for 2550M, this is already removed as of this 2023. However, there is a regulation provided by your BIR that the taxpayers can still file monthly using 2550M. But is it required? No. So 2550M is not required, but you are encouraged by the BIR to file a monthly return. Percentage tax is 2551Q. For estate tax, we have here 1801 and donor's tax is 1800. And I know you already know the different deadlines of these transfer taxes. Next, we have your withholding taxes. So this is quite new to you. For withholding taxes, we have here expanded. By the way, for withholding taxes, there are two types, whether that is in withholding for expanded or withholding for compensation. So you already know that withholding can either be final or creditable. And this withholding taxes talks about to your creditable withholding taxes. And what are your creditable withholding taxes? We have here your expanded and your compensation. So some common examples of your expanded withholding tax is your professional fee. So aside from that, we have also your rental. Uh, so those are the most common withholding taxes. So for compensation, this is your withholding on your compensation or for your regular employees. So let's go now to your expanded. So for expanded, you file monthly. So monthly, that is 15 days following end of month. And then we also have quarterly 1601 EQ and yearly 1604 E. So for quarterly, it is due last day following the end of the quarter, while for 1604E on or before March 1 following the end of the year, So how does this work? So let's say January, February, March, April, May, June, etc., and then December. So for January, for the month of January, you will file on February 15, right? What will you use? The monthly return. On February, you will file 15 days following that month. So March 15, what will you use? The monthly return. For March, this is already the end of the quarter, right? Therefore, you will file last day following the end of the quarter or until April 30 using 1601 EQ. And then that is how you will file. So again, here on April monthly, May monthly, June, you use quarterly. For December, this is already the annual period. Then you will use now your 1604E. Okay, 1604E. So for expanded, we have three returns, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. Next, we have your withholding taxes for compensation. So for quarterly, it's 1601C, and for yearly, 1604C. So for withholding taxes, we have two types, right? So that is either expanded or that is considered compensation. So we have here monthly, quarterly, and yearly. For monthly, for expanded, we have 0619E. For quarterly, we have 1601 EQ. For yearly, we have here your 1604E. For compensation, we have here 1601C and then 1604C. Okay, there's no monthly for withholding tax. Okay, that's for your withholding tax. Now, how do we file? So you can file either offline or you can file online. So what is online? E-filing is the process of electronically filing returns, including attachments, if any, specifically through the internet. And what are the modes? That is either EFPS or online EBIR forms. Online EBIR forms. Okay, so let's review everything that we have learned here. So there is a taxpayer, and the taxpayer needs to register. So in registration, we have either on-it or non-on-it. So whenever we say non-on-it, these are your recurring type of taxpayers. So for on-it, you need to register using 1904. For non-on-it, we need to determine whether it is a business or it is not a business. In short, you are an employee. So for business, you have two. You can register using 1901 or you can register using 1903. 1901 is for your self-employed or mixed income earner. 1903 is for partnerships or corporations. For employee, you can register using 1902. And take note, for business, upon registration, you will be given 2303, your certificate of registration. So next, we need to determine our ONET types of returns. So first, you have your CGT that is under 1706 or 1707. And then we have here your DST 2000 OT, ST tax that is under 1801, donors tax under 1800. So why are these considered one time? Because you don't always sell real property. You don't always subject the real property sale to DST. And of course, for ST tax, you don't always die. You only die once. Therefore, you only file once, or the filing of your estate will be only done once. For donor stocks, you don't always donate. Therefore, it is not recurring. That's why these are different on it. So these are your different on it types of tax: CGT, DST, estate, and donor stocks. So for business, whether say self-employed, partnership, or corporation, we said you have the following tax types. For your tax types, first we have your income tax. For income tax, you need to determine whether it is an individual or corporation. So you file quarterly and annually. For individual, you have here 1701Q, annually 1701. For corporation, we have here 1702Q, and annually is 1702. Next, for your business tax, you just need to determine whether the business is subject to VAT or subject to percentage tax. So this is 2550Q and 2551Q for percentage tax. And the last tax type is your withholding tax. So you have two types of withholding. We have here expanded, and we have here compensation. So monthly, quarterly, and annually. So this is 0619E, and then 1601 EQ, and then 1604E. For compensation, we have 1601C and 1604C. So, sir, are your businesses always pay this? It depends. So always pay income tax. For business tax, yes. For withholding tax, you need to determine if there for expanded, yes, always, because you can be subject to you can be considered as a withholding agent. But for compensation, only if the business has an employee. Okay? Only if the business has an employee. If the business does not have an employee, therefore, you should not subject it to withholding tax for compensation. Okay? So take note again, once you are given a COR, what is the requirement? You need to keep on filing. You need to keep on filing. And when is the cessation of the requirement to file? Upon termination using 1905. Now, what if you did not file? You are required to file, but you did not file. What do we call the case? We call that as open cases or stop filer case. So it pertains to a case created by the returns compliance system of the BIR involving a registered taxpayer who is identified to have failed to file the required tax return within the prescribed due date. So in short, guys, again, once you are registered, once you are a business, do not forget this. Once you are a business, you are given a Form 2303. You need to always file the returns there, regardless whether you have placed something there. So if wala kang income or you don't have any business at all, you did not withhold at all, you file zero. If not, then you are liable. If not, you are liable. Okay? And if you did not file, what is the effect? You will have a you will have an open case or stop filer case.